Love this podcast? Support this show through the Acast supporter feature. It's up to you how much you give, and there's no regular commitment. Just hit the link in the show description to support now.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
New activation and upfront payment for 3-month plan required. Taxes and fees extra. Additional restrictions apply. See mintmobile.com for full terms.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Cognitive Recalibration podcast. As always, I'm your host Shravan. We got Taran here with us.
Hey everyone.
And we're going to be talking DC after a little while. When's the last time we talked about DC?
The Batman.
Which was maybe like 6 months ago, so not that long ago. Have you realized that people have like forgotten about that movie? Like I'm like, oh yeah, that movie came out this year.
The Batman.
Yeah.
I haven't forgotten about it. I like that movie.
Yeah. I don't know. For some reason, I'm like, oh, that was so long ago, but it wasn't that long ago. So yeah, it will probably feature when we talk about best of.
Yeah, it'll be in the worst list.
It'll be yeah. But this movie that we're talking about today, Black Adam,
So best movie of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
So as usual, we'll do a bit of background, and then we'll go into comic book origins about Black Adam when he was in the comics and his powers are, etc. And then we'll jump into our thoughts, non-spoiler. So if you haven't watched the movie yet, we won't be spoiling anything until we get to the spoiler section, which is going to be later in the review, and we'll clearly indicate when we're going to talk spoilers. So, background-wise, so it's directed by Joan Colette Serra. So he last directed Jungle Cruise.
Which I like. I like that movie.
Yeah, and so before that, he directed a whole bunch of movies with Liam Neeson. So like the one on the plane, the one on the train, those ones.
Yeah, that's what they call it. The one on the bus.
Yeah. Liam Neeson.
The one in the taxi. Just different forms of transport.
Yeah. I think
the next one's called the one in the Uber.
Oh, yeah. It's like Stuber, but with Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
And he just kills people.
Yeah.
And there's probably one on a ship that they haven't done yet. Like Carnival Cruise or whatever.
Submarine,
yeah.
Yeah.
Then the last one will be when they go to space.
Yeah. Yep. I was going to say that as well. Yeah.
But I don't know. At the moment, he's doing a lot of movies with Dwayne Johnson. So obviously, Dwayne Johnson is Black Adam in this one. And
Dwayne Johnson likes working with people he's worked with before. I don't know if you realize that.
Yeah.
He always does like repeat movies with directors.
Didn't he Red Notice? That was directed by someone he did a movie with before, I think. Something
Probably
like
Skyscraper or something. Yeah.
Yeah, he's done a lot of movies with, he repeats a lot of directors. So Justice Society of America, which is just the weirdest name, are also in this. So we'll get into our thoughts on them. And the movie released in Mexico City on the 3rd of October for some reason, first, before it released everywhere else. So it released on the 21st worldwide of October. Budget $195 million. Box office-wise, first opening weekend, so far it's done $26 million. It's expected to do, I think, about $100 million or something, so decent. Dwayne Johnson was actually attached to play Black Adam 15 years ago, so this is predating most of the Marvel movies, certainly the DC universe. Yeah, for some reason they have always wanted him to play this role, and I think he was always super keen to do it as well. So now he's here. And he's got big plans. He's going to, what does he say?
The hierarchy of the DC universe is about to change. Yeah.
Yes, whatever that means.
Yeah.
What was the hierarchy?
There wasn't one. It was just a free-for-all. Just do whatever you want.
Yeah. So, he's saying that there's going to be some sort of hierarchy now. Let's get into our thoughts on it. But firstly, comic book origins. Black Adam, when did he first debut in comics?
I'm not sure. When
So
Shazam debuted.
Pretty much. Actually, I think it's the comic book, the comic that he debuted in, Shazam debuted in, or Captain Marvel at that stage. So he was part of 4 set comics, same as Shazam.
And then they got sued because Shazam was a copy of Superman. And then they got sued and they couldn't do it. And then DC bought them.
Yeah, so DC
and then they
bought
changed
them.
the character a little bit.
Yeah, and they changed the name. DC bought them. Didn't they also get sued because of Captain Marvel and the Marvel comics?
That was afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they had to change the name.
Yeah.
But DC bought them in the 1970s, but the actual first comic that featured Black Adam was in 1945, December 1945. The comic book was The Marvel Family, issue number 1. So he's always been a villain, a Shazam villain as such, and he's sort of endured, even after DC bought them, they've just kept him as a villain. And this is obviously more of an anti-hero. And
I think in the newer comics, which I haven't read, so I'm not sure, but I think he's an anti-hero now. Like a Venom type character.
Yes, yeah.
Who was also originally just
a
straight up villain.
Yeah.
But yeah.
In terms of abilities, he's basically the same as Shazam. So he gets the powers from the gods. In the comic books, he has superhuman stamina, invulnerability, agelessness, the swiftness of Horus, the strength of Amon, the wisdom of Zehuti, genius-level intellect, clairvoyance, control and emission of magical lightning and thunder, and flight. Basically, he's indestructible, and he's got lightning powers. Anything else on the comic books? So he's also called Teth Adam in the comic books at some stage, before it's called Black Adam. Also, Theo Adam was another name he went by. Well, let's get into our thoughts, spoiler free. So what's the story of this one?
I guess it starts in, what's the city called? Kandahar or something?
So that's a real place. Kandak, I think? Kandak?
Kandak, yeah. There's a city, a fictional city.
I'll confirm what it is in a second.
Fictional city in Egypt somewhere where Black Adam lived like ages ago. And then, yeah, there's like an evil king. And then he gets powers and stuff. That's
Kandak.
Kandak, yeah. I guess that's a spoiler-free version.
Yeah, and you kind of see in the trailers they do show kind of what happens, but yeah, it's thousands of years ago he gets it's an ancient city and he gets some powers from the gods, so similar to Shazam. And then the movie happens and you see what happens through a series of flashbacks as well. Okay, let's jump into positives and negatives. So I'll start with some positives. I thought the concept of Black Adam being an anti-hero was done pretty well. I thought they show him to be pretty ruthless. The moment he's introduced, he's just murdering everyone and he has no remorse whatsoever. They did that pretty well throughout the movie, and they did show how powerful he is. So there's a lot of scenes where big action set pieces where they really show the power of Black Adam and that he is quite a force to deal with. I thought the Justice League of America were pretty good as well. The characters that they
Justice Society.
Sorry, Justice Society. This is why it's confusing. Why would you have 2 teams that have justice in them?
So the original Justice Society is actually a team in the past. So I thought this was going to be set in the past.
Yeah.
But it's in the present day.
Yeah.
The Justice Society of America doesn't exist at the same time as Justice League.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
And why are they only in America?
I don't know.
Yeah, because in this, they're obviously not. But yeah, Justice Society, I thought they were pretty good, especially Hawkman and Dr. Fate. I thought they were decent. Dr. Fate, he does some strange things.
Doctor Strange.
Did you get that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
People think he's a Doctor Strange ripoff because he kind of is. But
so he debuted in the comics before. So
yeah.
20 years before Doctor Strange. But I think in this movie, they definitely got inspired by the movie version of Doctor Strange.
Yeah. Well, in terms of his powers and stuff, there's some parallels.
Yeah. And Hawkman was pretty good as well. I actually didn't realize, I thought it was just a guy who dressed as a hawk, but he obviously is pretty strong. And the other 2 characters were pretty, they weren't in it as much as these 2, but they were okay. Some comedic relief. Okay, did you have any positives?
I didn't like this movie as much as you did. I think The Rock was good in his role. He obviously has a passion for this character and he really wants to play him. So I'm happy he got what he wanted, I guess, in terms of that.
So, and it's not like the normal Rock. Like, you know, in these other movies where it's just Dwayne Johnson. he's not exactly that in this. Like, they kind of actually dialed down his charisma
a little bit, yeah. Probably necessary for the character, but I think he played it well.
Yeah, and he has he has a sense of humor, like more like Drax in Guardians 1 type of humor in this. So there's also like this fish out of water type thing happening with him, and they did that pretty well.
I liked Pierce Brosnan. I think he was pretty good, and he was probably one of the better actors in this. And the guy that played Hawkman was very good as well.
Yeah,
it was good.
I thought I'd seen that guy before in something else.
Yeah, same. I just can't remember what it is.
So I looked up his filmography, and the only thing I have seen is Hidden Figures.
And he plays seen that. Yeah.
He plays like a minor character in that.
He was good. He was really good. Yeah, you'll see him in more things, and some of the action was pretty good. But also, it's stuff I've seen before as well.
Yeah,
it was very reminiscent of Man of Steel, to be honest. Like, a lot of this is just people wrecking a city.
It's The difference between this and Man of Steel is that it doesn't take itself as seriously as Man of Steel.
Yeah. It definitely doesn't take itself as seriously, which is to its benefit. But a lot of the action is reminiscent of Man of Steel.
I think so, except he's much more brutal, I think, than Superman. I think Superman, in that movie, he also does kill people, but he doesn't always mean it. Whereas in this, he certainly wants to kill them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's jump into negatives. I had an issue with the pacing of this movie because there's multiple times where I thought the movie was finished, but it didn't. So there was one part where if it did finish, it would have been pretty anticlimactic, and it didn't. So that made sense. But then after that, there was just these shots where I was like, okay, they're going to cut now. They didn't cut it. They're going to cut now. They didn't cut it. Like, okay, it's just going, keeps going. And then there was also a lot of parts that they could have left to the audience's imagination, but they just tell you stuff like blatantly. Like, they don't leave anything to the imagination of the audience. So everything is kind of spoon fed to you in a way. So I didn't really like that. The Atom Smasher and Cyclone, they were okay, but they also didn't really have to be in this movie at the same time. I think Dr. Fate and Hawkman had much more of a role. Those two, well, Atom Smasher was literally just comedic relief, and Cyclone had a bit of a backstory, which they explain in like 30 seconds of exposition, but yeah, there's not much background for them. Maybe it feels like it could have been better if they actually had a JSA movie before this, or some sort of show. Another thing I didn't mention is it does have more connections to the DC cinematic universe than I expected it to. Like, there's like characters that appear that I'm like, oh yeah, they're from that thing, which I forgot about, but they're in the DC universe. So it does have some links that I wasn't expecting. I thought it would be much more standalone than what it ended up being, which is not a negative. It's kind of whatever. It's not really positive either, but yeah. What about you?
Okay, I'll go non-spoiler first, but then, like, a lot of the stuff I want to talk about is spoilers.
Yeah.
So first off, I'll talk about this more in spoilers, but the premise of the movie is flawed in general because it is connected to the DC universe.
Mm-hmm.
This might have been just my theater. I watched it in this Reading Cinemas.
Yeah.
And they've got like the Dolby Digital audio.
Yeah.
The music in this movie is very jarring at lots of points.
So
like, it breaks into song and it just randomly goes into a song. And then, like, what the fuck's going on?
So I heard this on Twitter. A lot of people were saying this, that they couldn't hear the dialogue, like Tenet, essentially. Like, the music was too loud.
Yeah.
And they couldn't hear the dialogue. I watched it in IMAX, so I didn't have that issue. I could hear everything pretty clearly, so it definitely wasn't like Tenet, but it is a common issue. Like, I think it's like 50-50. A lot of people had issues with hearing.
And I also thought the background music was way too overpowering and was not really fitting the scenario at some points as well. And they they have lots of songs that they do with the action sequences, which at different points I didn't think fit what was actually happening.
Yeah, there were scenes where I know what you're talking about, where they had songs that definitely didn't fit the context of the movie. Like, they were just songs. It reminded me of the sequences they had with Quicksilver in the X-Men movies.
Yes.
similar to that, but it didn't make
But it did make sense.
It makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. Because in those movies, he puts headphones on and you hear it from his point of view.
Yeah.
No one's listening to music in this. It just starts playing randomly.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
not like even specific to Black Adam. It's just a song.
It's
like
just
it's
a
got
song.
nothing to do with it.
Yeah. I found it very jarring. Also, the first 40 minutes of this movie is just meandering where nothing happens. And it's just like,
It is slow to start for sure. I think there was the first 20 to 30 minutes is slow.
I'm like, where is this going? Because it's just like, there's like 3 action sequences in it in that first 40 minutes, but none of them mean anything. It's just random action sequences. And there's this voiceover at the start, which was horrible. I hated it. Yeah.
Was that from the
It was
kids?
the kids
Yeah.
coming to the kid. The kid was the worst. I hated the kid. I hoped he died. I was secretly wishing he died. The mum as well. She could go. I hated both of those guys.
Yeah. Well, the mom especially plays much more of a role in this movie than I expected. She's in it, like, she's one of the main characters. There's also one villain.
The villain is very weak. Like,
So the moment they introduced this guy, I knew he was the villain.
yeah, because he looks seedy as fuck.
Yeah.
But like, for most of the movie, he's not in it. And then randomly at the end, he just gets some powers.
Yeah.
Well, that's a spoiler. Sorry. But yeah, he's not in it for most of it. He's a weak villain.
Yeah. I didn't think the villain was that great. And it, like all DC movies, it just ends up being a CGI fight at the end.
Yeah. Which it was kind of like a Man of Steel fight, like Zod at the end, pretty much. I think that's all I can say without going into spoilers. Was there something else?
Also, the villain.
Oh, and I hated Atom Smasher and Cyclone. Like you said.
Yeah.
Atom Smasher was comedic relief, but I didn't laugh at any of his jokes because it was just like awkward shit. And I'm like,
Yes, it was.
yeah.
And I was also really distracted by the size of his neck.
His neck is huge.
Yeah.
His neck is fucking huge. His neck is bigger than his head.
Yeah.
I've never seen a bigger neck.
It's very disproportionate.
Yeah.
Like, I just, especially because it was on the big screen, I'm like, wow, this guy.
He's got a long neck as well. It's long and thick. Like generally you don't get a long and thick neck. You get like a short and thick one. But he had both.
And it's surprising because it's starring in a movie with The Rock, who's like a massive guy. And the only thing I could see was this guy's neck.
I thought he was really bad at acting. He's like the Netflix specialist, like all the Netflix rom-coms.
How many perfect dates have there been?
One, but there's been like
I thought
4. There's been like 4 To All the Boys I Love You or whatever.
He's
Yeah.
in that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. He's brought over his Netflix acting to this, and it's not great.
Although I did laugh at his dynamic with Hawkman. I thought that was pretty cool.
Hawkman sold that more than he did, though.
Yeah.
He did nothing in that. So it's just Hawkman's, like, say, you and me. Like,
Yeah.
that was okay. But there's like lots of lines between him and Cyclone, and I'm like, what is this? Is this meant to be a love story or something? But it goes nowhere.
Yeah.
And Cyclone does nothing.
Well, she's meant to be smart. And they kind of demonstrate it, but yeah.
But she could, like you said, she could not be in this movie and it'll be fine. So, other than the 3 main characters, I hated everyone else in this movie.
I did like Pierce Brosnan as well. I thought he was pretty good. All right.
All right. Are we going to spoilers?
Yeah, we'll jump into spoilers. So
Let me
I
explain.
give it I actually give it a cognitive recalibration. I think it's the second best comic book movie of this year, behind the Batman. So surprisingly, the 2 best ones are from DC.
I disagree probably. I don't think it's a regression because I did hate it. I did get bored at some points though, which is bad for a movie that's meant to just be an action entertainer.
It's also only just over 2 hours, but it feels
long.
long.
Yeah. Because to be honest, nothing much happens. It's set in this one place.
They actually don't leave that place.
They don't leave that place. And like, if I look at the plot, like the plot can be done in 20 minutes. It's not a regression. It's not a recalibration. It's whatever. This is right on the 50 line. But also, I was saying this before, you watched the premiere opening night and you said there was a lot of people there. There was like a lot of hullabaloo around it.
Yeah, it was like a DJ and there was this guy dressed up as Batman. And was it Deadshot, the other guy? You saw that story.
Was it Red Hood? I can't remember.
Oh, it might be Red Hood.
Was it Red Hood? I can't remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, you had a lot of hype behind it when you watched it,
Yeah.
which is what I think made it go over the line for you. Whereas I watched it on like a Saturday afternoon in like a close to empty theater, and it wasn't as exciting. Yeah.
That might have contributed to it. They also gave us free Coke and popcorn. So
Yeah, they sell it to you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's jump into spoilers. So if you haven't seen Black Adam and you care about spoilers, go watch it and come back to this point in the episode and listen to our spoilers.
Okay, so you disagree with my theory on this, but because
Well,
of the brutality of the kills is what you're saying.
I think it's the intention. So I think Superman doesn't intend to kill people. It just collateral damage. Whereas Black Adam is going to kill people. Like that's his intention.
I didn't get the sense of that from this. Like, look, he does kill people, intend to kill people. If we look at Batman v Superman, Batman's in that car with a machine gun and he just riddles these guys in the back of the car. So are you saying he doesn't intend to kill those people with the machine gun? So are you saying that is not intentional? He's like, I'm just going to, blow up this car. I think they'll survive. It'll be fine.
So firstly, your theory,
Okay, my theory.
Yeah.
So the whole premise of this movie is that Black Adam is the anti-hero. The Justice Society want to lock him up because he's killing people. Although they are bad people, he's killing them. And then the Justice Society come and be like, you're not a hero. You can't kill people if you're a hero. And then he's like, nah, I'm going to kill people, essentially. And at the end, he doesn't change. He still kills people. But they're like, yeah, you're all right. We'll leave you. But yeah, that's the whole essence of the movie is this guy is like not like the other heroes in this movie. Also, it's fucking weird universe where there's like Wonder Woman. The kid's got like Wonder Woman, Batman, and like comics in his bag.
So people are writing comics as these people exist.
Yeah. So evidently, all these people are seen as heroes because there's Batman comics as well. In his room, he's got like posters of Batman.
He's got like a Batman action figure and stuff.
Yeah, and he's got all these people.
But isn't like, I just wouldn't think Batman would be like that famous.
Yeah, which is weird. Why are they writing comics of the characters in this universe? I thought that was weird to begin with. I'm like, what's going on?
I get Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Because Wonder Woman's like, she's actually a super powered person and everyone knows her. Like she's in the public eye. Whereas Batman, I feel like, I don't know. I don't know if he would like people writing comics about him and action figures about him and stuff. They also had that in Shazam too, though. So
they did, yeah. So it follows on from that universe. Yeah. Anyway, in the only character that doesn't purposefully kill people in these movies is Wonder Woman. I've never seen her like purposefully kill people. She kills if she needs to, but otherwise she doesn't. Superman has killed so many people in Metropolis in that fight. I can agree that it's not intentional on his part, but in Batman v Superman, Batman 100% purposefully kills at least like 50 people in that movie.
But I'm not trying to justify that movie because I think that movie's pretty bad. But they do say that this Batman's in a different space because Robin was murdered or whatever, right? So he's become more brutal.
Then why aren't they trying to lock up Batman? Why is this guy different compared to Batman? It's like this guy's the badass that the superhero universe has never seen. He's not, because Batman's already doing that shit in Gotham. So first off,
but he's mates with Amanda Waller, so
yeah. So first off, that whole premise is flawed in this universe. In a proper DC universe, it would be okay.
Yeah, I don't think Aquaman actually kills anyone, does he?
No, and we haven't seen enough of the Flash to kind of say.
Yeah.
He's useless anyway, so he probably does kill people.
Also, how many heroes are there with like when you see them do slow motion stuff, they have lightning around them, like Flash, Shazam,
yeah,
Black Adam, yeah. There's a lot.
But I guess, look, if I look at it as a standalone movie and take that away, take the previous movies away, then I can appreciate that he's the anti-hero.
That's the mindset I went in with because I just wasn't. I thought they scrapped that stuff.
Yeah, but then they do stuff where they have Amanda Waller.
Yeah,
they have the Jennifer Holland from Peacemaker.
Yeah,
they have Superman at the end.
Yeah,
so
it's obviously
like if they distance themselves completely, then it's like, okay, you don't worry about that. But they bring back the characters from those movies to like work it in. which doesn't make sense in the universe, in my opinion.
Because I thought they scrapped it, or like you just forget about those movies, but I don't think they completely scrapped it. So I think it still exists.
If they're going to lock up, if in this movie that eventually they lock up Black Adam in a Task Force X kind of place, if they're going to lock him up, they should be locking up Superman and they should be locking up Batman as well. Whereas Amanda Waller at the end of this movie sends out Superman to fight Black Adam like he's their pal. So why isn't she trying to lock him up?
Well, if you go by the films, this is post his resurrection, so maybe he's like a different person now.
Could be.
Yeah.
They should be locking up Batman though.
Well, he changed in Justice League as well, right? Because he okay, they didn't do this well. I'm just playing devil's advocate here, but in Justice League, he's meant to have a turn. Like he's meant to realize that what he was doing was wrong, and that's why he's recruiting the Justice League as well.
Because he's recruiting the Justice League
because he
sees that vision from the future of Superman killing everyone, and then he's like, I gotta. Even though he thinks Superman's dead, for some reason he's like, oh yeah, let's recruit people, and he doesn't put any security around Superman or anything.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all in the
universe is flawed. Overall, the universe is flawed. They need to kind of fix it, or just say those movies don't matter anymore.
Yeah.
Try not to. They want to link it in, and they don't want to link it in as well, which is a problem.
Because I think Ben Affleck is in the Flash movie.
Ben Affleck's in Aquaman. No, Wonder Woman's in Aquaman. Ben Affleck's in Flash. Yeah,
one was in Aquaman. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
is that a rewrite?
I think so.
Yeah.
So this is what The Rock's talking about, where he's like, The Rock is becoming Kevin Feige essentially.
Yeah,
because
except he doesn't. Well, I don't think he knows that much about DC. Yeah.
But he's done some good stuff in this. I think Henry Cavill's a great Superman. He's just been in bad movies.
Yeah.
So bringing him back, I think, is a good idea. And he advocated heavily for that, and that's why he's back. So I think he's doing some good stuff. I don't know if it's going to end up going the right way.
Well, I guess they wanted this. I think he was saying that this is the start of phase 1, essentially, for DC.
Yeah.
This movie. Yeah, I mean, he's been saying a lot of stuff in interviews around, like, he wants a lot of collaboration between all the different actors that they've already cast. So one interview was saying they would have Joker team up with Black Adam. Which Joker would they get? And the options they gave were Jared Leto, Barry Keoghan, and Joaquin Phoenix. And he said Barry Keoghan because he's a big fan of him. That's his words. Which wouldn't make sense. Yeah,
different universe. I don't know what to make of that. And also, if Black Adam's teaming up with the Joker's like a genuine psychopath. Like, you can't be a hero if you're teaming up with the Joker. It's okay if you've never seen a DC movie before and you just come and watch this, I could see you thinking it's being okay. But if you have the view of what's happened in the past, this movie makes very little sense. And also, just as a general thing for the movie, it's all set in, what's that city called? Kandak, yeah. And I thought there was a bit too much of The Rock just staring at this statue. It's like The Rock staring at the statue, a fight scene, and then he goes back and stares at the statue afterwards, and it happens like 3 times.
So do you want to talk about that backstory? Because I don't know if this was just one of the old trailers, but didn't they spoil that in the trailer?
So I read the premise on Wikipedia, and it says it in the premise. It says it in the premise, like his son gives his life for him to have powers.
Yeah.
So I knew it was coming well before.
Yeah.
I thought it was just because I read the premise. It wasn't the plot. It was just the premise.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure in the trailer they also say that his son sacrificed his life, and that's why he became Black Adam. Who he is.
So I was not surprised at that twist. Well, was it meant to be a twist? I don't know.
I think it was meant to be. Like they hype it up like it is a twist.
Yeah.
But there's all this mystery around why he's who he is. So like the Justice Society know more about him than his followers. Like he has some dark history. And that's why they also come, because they're like, oh, you don't know what he's been doing. He's not actually a hero, etc. And then you find out his backstory, and it's because his son actually was Black Adam initially, but then he gives the powers to him and then immediately dies.
Yep. And then Black Adam immediately kills everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I've seen CGI being used to make people look bigger, but I've never seen it used to make people look smaller.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what The Rock would look like if he didn't take steroids.
Yeah, that was interesting because I knew it was coming as well because they foreshadowed because they never actually
Show the dad.
the father. Yeah. So it was coming. So yeah, the twist was just like whatever because I kind of saw it coming.
Yeah, too much staring at the statue for my liking as well.
I did like the fight between the first fight between the JSA and Black Adam.
That was good.
Yeah.
But then they do like 2 more fights afterwards with them. And I'm like,
Well, they
how
keep
many
fighting.
are you going to do?
Because they're like they fight,
Yeah.
and then Hawkman's like, yeah, let's do this again.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm like, how many times are you guys going to fight? Like, evidently you can't beat him.
yeah. And then Hawkman says it. He's like, oh, Black Adam's like, we both know how this is going to end. It's like, yeah, we do. And like, why are you
He
fighting
just
him?
does it
then?
anyway. Yeah. I thought it was one too many fights between them. The first one was good. And the second one, I'm like, okay. And then there was another one. I'm like, oh, this is enough. This is enough.
The first one was pretty good though, because all of them fight him.
Yeah.
Also, Dr. Fate, he doesn't do that much. Is it because
Dr. Fate in the comics.
Is it because he knows
would've-
what's going to happen? Or
I feel like Dr. Fate in the comics would have spanked Black Adam like very easily because he's like very OP in the comics. The character slightly changed in this, but I'm going based off Young Justice, which has a character quite prominently in it. But Dr. Fate is actually the helmet and the user is just a magic user essentially. So that if you have a predisposition to magic, then you have more power when you put on the helmet.
Yep.
If you don't, then you have less power.
so you can't, like a random person just can't pick it up and become Dr. Fate. They
They
have
can.
to have, they have to have some sort of magical ability to begin with.
No, you can, but if you don't have any magical ability, you put it on, then you just won't have as much power as if someone has a lot of magical ability and they put it on.
It's
then it's amplified extra.
Yeah, because Hawkman does use it actually at the end of this movie.
But he doesn't put it on, which is weird.
Yeah, and there's
I thought
also
you
a
had to
part-
put the helmet on for it to work.
Yeah, and there's also a part where they just have the helmet on the table and then Atom Smash is about to touch it and then Cyclone's like, don't touch it because it's going to like make you crazy or something, or like it's going to emit blasts or something.
In the comics, Fate, if you put the helmet on, he gets control of your body. So Fate is actually doing everything once you put the helmet on and you have very little control. So there's like the tension with Dr. Fate is sometimes he's not exactly the best bloke.
Yeah.
The person with the inside is sometimes good, but Dr. Fate,
he makes him do.
He's going to do whatever's best for the universe, but not necessarily what's going to save the most people or something.
Yes.
So,
and I think they explained that in this. I think, again, Cyclone says it where she's like, once he puts the helmet on, he's not the same person, or like he's not in control of himself.
He's not in control, which I didn't get a sense of in this. I thought it was always just Pierce Brosnan kind of, but the tension in the comics sometimes is that if you put the helmet on, then Dr. Fate won't release you and you are stuck in there, essentially. So it happens in Young Justice to Zatanna, where he puts the helmet on and then Dr. Fate doesn't release him.
Zatanna Senior.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not
Zatara. Zatara puts it on and he doesn't want to release her.
Yeah.
And then Zatanna makes a deal saying, transfer it to me. I have better magical ability and you could keep it on me. So then they do that. So I thought that would come into play a little bit and Dr. Fate might have, like they might have to fight Dr. Fate in the end. I thought that would be a better scenario because he's very OP. He would be able to beat Black Adam if he wanted to.
No, that would have been interesting. Would have been a good moral dilemma for Hawkman as well because they established that they're pretty good friends in this. But yeah, I mean,
he's friends with Ken. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But what they ended up doing was, I don't know, like it felt like he knew what was going to happen. But I guess, yeah, I mean, it's the same thing with like in Doctor Strange in Infinity War. Like he can't tell them or else it wouldn't happen.
Yeah. But I felt like, I didn't feel like the Dr. Fate character was what And I might be wrong. Maybe they've changed the Dr. Fate character in the comics now.
Yeah.
And this is what it is. But I think that Dr. Fate character where it's like it's two different entities and one of them is more powerful is more interesting.
He does tell Hawkman that he's going to die. And I'm like, oh, you wouldn't tell him he's going to die if you knew that he was actually going to die. So I think he had to tell him that he was going to die.
So that he didn't die.
So that he wouldn't die. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I like that. I like, overall, I did like how they did Dr. Fate. I would have liked if he actually used his powers a bit more because he doesn't really do that much. I think that in the first fight, he does actually fight him a little bit. But apart from that, he's just walking around without the helmet on most of the time.
I think that would have been a better villain if he ended up being the villain. Would have been a bit more of a dilemma.
Also, when they lock him up and they like put this thing on his mouth so they can't talk.
Yeah.
Just for them to have him to break out.
Released in the next scene.
The next day.
Yeah.
Because I would have thought that if they really needed him, they could have just called like the people that locked him up to like release him.
Yeah.
Instead of having him like
fight his
break
way
out and fight and almost die on the way. All right. End credit scene. So you've already mentioned it, but Henry Cavill turns up. So Amanda Waller's like, you better not get up to any mischief or else.
She's like, stay in that city. Otherwise, I'll lock you up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I'll stay. There's no reason for me to actually go.
Yeah.
and then he blows up the thing.
She's like, if I could get someone to come get you if I need to. And he's like, there's no one in this universe more powerful. There's no one in this planet that's powerful enough to stop me.
So I can get you someone off planet.
Yeah. Yeah. And then he blows up the thing. And
then he blows up the thing. And then Superman appears out of the smoke of that thing blowing up. So did she like call? I know he's Superman, so he's
pretty fast.
He's fast, but did she call him at that instant? It's like, let's call him right now.
Also, thinking back to that, do you know how he said Superman doesn't purposefully kill people?
Yeah.
In Batman v Superman, in like one of the first scenes, this guy puts like a gun up to Lois Lane's head. Do you know in like Afghanistan?
Yeah.
Or whatever. Yeah, he puts a gun up to Lois Lane's head.
Yeah.
He like flies at that guy, grabs him by the neck and pushes him through like 5 walls. That guy's dead. There's no way he's not dead.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Justify it.
I'm trying to justify it, but like, I don't know. Maybe they were like soft walls. Like it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would just push them through. They were just like really soft cardboard. Yeah. Anyway, so Superman's like, we need to talk. What do you think they talk about?
I don't know. They're kids. My son's dead.
My son's dead.
I don't have a son yet.
Well, they could talk about the most brutal kills that they've inflicted.
Yeah. I pushed a guy through 5 walls. Broke some guy's neck that next day as well.
I destroyed half of Metropolis.
Yeah.
Twice.
Stabbed this big monster dude. Even though Wonder Woman could have stabbed him, I decided to stab him. Yeah. And then he stabbed me.
And then I died.
Yeah. But then I woke up and then I fought these guys for a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, why am I fighting these guys?
And one time I had a black suit, but then the other time I had a blue suit.
Yeah.
And it was the same
this
thing.
time I want to wear the blue suit. Black Adam's like, what the fuck's going on?
So future-wise, there's a Shazam 2 coming up.
Yep.
Black Adam may or may not be in that. It would make sense if he does. I was actually expecting Shazam to be in this at the end, not Superman, but
I thought it would have made more sense
to have Shazam. Yeah. But do they know about Shazam yet? Like in the first
end
Shazam,
credit scene of Shazam,
the first
Superman's in it. Remember?
Oh yeah. So Superman knows about Shazam.
Yeah. This universe is a mess.
So we'll have to see if Black Adam appears in that because he's not
going to be in this new one, the second one.
In that second one?
He's not in it. Yeah. I don't think he would be. Maybe like end credits or something. Yeah.
Because they've kind of set up Black Adam. He's not really a bad guy now.
Yeah. I don't know how you could set up a fight between him and Shazam unless it's a misunderstanding. It would have to be a misunderstanding and then.
Well, one of our friends was saying it could be around, and they don't really talk about this material much, but is it Eternium?
Yeah. Yep.
So some sort of very powerful material. Also, there's this crown thing.
Doesn't matter. It sucked. It doesn't matter.
And there's the villain needs the crown, whatever. And I also knew the villain was a descendant of that king because he looked exactly like him.
Was it the same actor?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
And I also knew that guy was the villain, or like he was not a good character from the moment they introduced him. Firstly, because he looked super seedy, and also because he was the guy who played Jafar in Aladdin.
And he's been typecast ever since as a bad king.
You need a Middle Eastern villain.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, yeah, remember that guy that was Jafar? Yeah, let's get him.
This guy's waiting for Middle Eastern villain roles. He's hoping they reboot Prince of Persia.
Yeah. Yeah, so I knew that guy was bad. And then he becomes like a CGI monster at the end as well, which didn't look great.
Yeah, the CGI was hit and miss. Sometimes
it was good. Yeah.
There's this part at the end where they're all like saying goodbye to Black Adam, and it's very bad green screen in the background.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the moment I realized the extent of that guy's neck as well. It was like a close up of him.
Yes.
And his neck was huge.
Oh, and that was the part where there's one.
I talked to you about this and it's terrible.
There's one part where, so in the final fight scene, there's the statue falls down and then Adam Smasher like holds it.
No, Black Adam holds it.
And then Adam Smasher comes to
Adam Smasher's like, I got this, you go. And then at the end, Adam Smasher's like, I think we work well together as a team.
And that was
the only interaction they had in the whole movie.
Yes.
Never talked. The only other interaction is once he punched him into the ground, and that's it.
There was also one scene where it was like eating chicken.
That's right, yeah.
And then Dr. Fate's like...
Yeah, it's like none of that.
Where did he get the chicken from?
I don't know. There's a big bucket of chicken as well. The city constantly getting destroyed in this movie as well.
And no one really
seems to care.
No one cares.
Yeah. And also, like, he's destroying this lady's house. The lady brings
like
him to
walking
his
through
house.
walls and stuff.
And the lady doesn't care. If that was my house, I'm like paying this shit off and you're just breaking down walls and shit and no one cares.
Yeah, and he's just like, he doesn't walk through doors, obviously. So he just like walks through walls all the time. So he's like breaking through buildings all the time.
Yeah. And no one gives a shit. Yeah.
I like how he killed those mercenaries or whatever that were infiltrating the city.
Mm.
That was good.
Yeah.
That was another song sequence as well for some reason.
There was like 3 song sequences.
Yeah.
Yeah. For some reason.
The kid obviously should have died multiple times because you know the part where they're like in those floating, hovering motorbikes or whatever?
Yeah.
And he's meant to be in like
in the compartment, yeah.
Yeah, in the compartment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he would have just suffocated because it looked pretty small.
It did, yeah.
And he's not like a little kid. He's like a
And
teenager.
why did they never take his phone off him? Because he's just calling people left,
all
right,
the time.
center.
Yeah.
He's always on the phone in this movie. Even though he's kidnapped, always in touch.
Yes. Yeah. Did you know when they first introduced him that he's the son of the lady?
No, but I didn't care also.
Yeah.
I would have maybe if I cared, but I didn't care. Those were the least interesting characters in this movie. The son, the brother, and the mum.
And the mum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have like the fight scene at the end. I'm like, why is this a thing? Why is this a thing?
It was like zombies or something.
Yeah.
Coming. Yeah. Yeah, and then the kid recruits like the city to come and help.
It was so bad. It was so bad. Like, I cannot see how anyone would have thought that was good.
Yeah, I just found that funny how the mom's like, you can fight, but you're more than that.
You're more than that. And you know what he does? He goes into this market where there's like 20 people. There's not even that many people. And then he puts his hand up and everyone's like, yeah, let's do this.
Let's walk to our death.
He fucking comes on a skateboard. He's like, Mom, look what I did. I got 20 guys from the market to help us. It's meant to be like a heroic moment. I'm like, this is fucking shit. I know it's like meant to be a parallel to the Sun in the past, but I just didn't care.
Yeah, it was meant to be. And also it wasn't required because they had Cyclone and Adam Smasher.
Yeah.
They probably could have handled that because they weren't helping Black Adam fight this dude.
No, he soloed it.
Yeah. Hawkman fights him for a bit.
It does, yeah. I think if you watch this movie again, you'll have a very different opinion to what you had now.
It's kind of like Aquaman as well, because when we first watched Aquaman, I thought it was all right.
Yeah.
And then I watched it again and I couldn't really watch it. It was a bit boring.
I will never watch this movie again. I'll never watch any part of it again. There was no action scene where I'm like, that is so good, I want to watch that again.
I like the scene where they introduce him and he like brutally murders everyone.
It had some weird CGI. The lightning was weird. I felt like it was okay, but it wasn't amazing. I would rather watch the Man of Steel fights than watch that.
Didn't you like the scene where he takes down the helicopter and he blows up the army? It's like it's the one. It's after he got introduced.
The song really distracted me there because it came out of nowhere. That was the first one, and I'm like, oh, what's happening? What is this song? It was okay. That was very reminiscent of that Quicksilver scene in X-Men.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I also like. I think his name was like Samir or something. The other guy that was with them, and he dies
Immediately.
Yeah.
Did he have a line?
I think he said something in the
car, possibly.
Wasn't he the guy that was like giving her shit in the car?
I thought that was the seedy bloke, wasn't it?
Was it?
I don't know.
Maybe. I knew he was definitely a villain when she's like, "Oh, where's Samir?" And he's like, "Oh, went out to get fresh air." And then you just see the guy dead outside.
He's dead. He has he's got a lot of fresh air. Fresh air in hell.
Yeah. Now that we talk, the kid stuff was definitely cringy in this for sure.
And he's not great at acting, unfortunately. The kids go one of two ways. They're either one of three ways: tolerable, actually good, or terrible.
Or Jake Lloyd.
Yeah. And this guy, terrible. This guy was in the terrible. Yeah.
All right.
And he had too much screen time. He was in it way too much.
He also destroys his bedroom as well. So
yeah. Well, they destroy that whole house and no one cares. That's what bothered me the most is the amount of destruction that was happening in this city and no one cared.
Jimon Honso, we didn't mention him. He
was in this briefly. Yeah.
Does he have any lines?
Yeah, he does.
I think he yells something.
Like wisdom of
someone.
Yeah.
He's back. And he's in Shazam too for some reason.
He is. I thought it was dead, but he's back.
Too, but he's back. What's the other DC movie coming out next year? Flash, if it does actually come out. And Aquaman as well, I think. Aquaman's coming out next. I think it's delayed by a year. So it's coming out next Christmas. And Batgirl? Yeah, Batgirl was cancelled.
Yeah.
Because someone deleted the file.
Apparently Batgirl was better than this, which I would not be surprised if it was.
But wasn't that so bad that they had to cancel it?
So this had worse test screenings than that did, but they couldn't cancel this because The
Rock's in it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But this
wasn't
not good.
that bad.
This is not good. It's not a good movie. I'll stand by it.
Well, DC Universe-wise, it's better than the first Suicide Squad. It's better than Batman vs. Superman.
People hate you for that.
They can, but I think it's better than Batman vs. Superman. And I think it's better than Birds of Prey. Yeah.
Watch this again. And come back to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When this comes out.
So you think BVS is better than this?
No, I hate BVS. I just don't want the BVS has better action than this does though. BVS has much better action sequences. I would watch parts of BVS over any part of this. The overall story of BVS is absolute bullshit and very flawed, but some of the action's really good.
Well, let us know what your thoughts are on Black Adam. Obviously, it's become pretty divisive. Critics don't like it. I think the audience score is like 80-something percent. Critics score is like 40-something percent. So, yeah.
I feel like, I don't know if I'm being overly critical, but it's, yeah. On first watch, people might enjoy, but the moment you think about it more, or on second watch, I don't think it will be enjoyable.
Well, let us know. So if people do want to get in touch with us, how do they go about it?
So you can contact us at cognitiverecalibrationpodcast@gmail.com or on all other platforms at Cognitive Recalibration. Yeah.
So we're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. So give us a follow on all of those. We'll be releasing Reels/TikToks, which are small excerpts from our podcast. So do subscribe on those platforms so you can watch our short form content as well. And if you want to support the podcast, you can do so via giving us a review on Spotify or iTunes, because that makes us more discoverable on search engines. I don't think we have anything planned in the near future. Black Panther comes out in 2 weeks, I think, 2 or 3 weeks. So we'll see how that one goes. Another character that has black in their name.
Yeah.
How many characters have black in their name?
I can only think of these two.
Black Knight.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's 3. Yeah.
Who's that guy in Inhumans?
Black Bolt. Okay,
Yeah.
there's 4. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's quite a bit. Who's Black Cat?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all coming out now. Yeah. Nah, there's probably a lot then. Yeah, I don't know. Lots of people, lots of characters are just the color of their costume and an animal or a name.
Yes. Yeah. All right. So hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll see you guys in the next one. We might do something before Black Panther. So stay tuned. Hope you had a good time and hope you're all staying safe. See you later.
See ya.